So I have the great pleasure to say welcome to this great event for all of you here in the room and also for everyone streaming live around the world. It's a very special event for us, but I want to take a step back and just take this opportunity also to introduce myself. I'm Andreas Anderhov, the General Manager for Australia and New Zealand. I'm actually in the process of relocating as we speak. Very excited about that. I used to be the General Manager for the Nordic countries. And I think this is a great opportunity for us as two strategic partners to come together and really celebrate and bring awareness to this area. I think it's actually our responsibility as companies to do more of this. So I'm extremely excited about this opportunity, what you're about to see here with this live demo. But I also wanted to start from a different angle. I wanted to give you a little bit of a personal story as well. My dad is a hearing aid user. And at the age of 50, so he was very young for this to happen, he had a stroke. And you know, as those things goes, it was touch and go for a moment. He came through, but he is paralyzed on his left side. And he had lived with that for 20 years now. And he used to wear ReSound Link Square and have just moved into our new technology, ReSound Link 3D. And with ReSound Link 3D, which you also will have demonstrated here, we have the opportunity with ReSound Assist to remotely control and fit and adjust the hearing aid. And for people like myself, where it's not a burden to get dressed or get to the car or even have to think about where should I park, how can I get into the audiology office to get my adjustment, this is a game changer for him. It's an incredible, incredible opportunity for him to live a different life. So he is one of those reasons why I think we are here, and that's why I started out saying that it's our responsibility with this alliance to bring awareness to the technology out there. And what better place to do it? We have Cochlear, you know, leader in what you're doing, innovators. We have GN ReSound, GN Hearing, doing the same. So I have, of course, the easy task to say welcome to all of you, and I think you're up for a real treat here. So with that, I want to introduce our Vice President of Global Audiology, John. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Andreas. It's a pleasure to be in Australia again. I actually am based in Chicago in the US. I've been to Australia many, many times over the last 14 years that I've been with the company, and it's always a pleasure to come down here. Of course, it's a long travel, so I'm looking forward to more and more of these tele-opportunities where you can actually reach out and not have to sit on a plane for as many hours as we do. But today what we want to do is show you something as a world's first, which is a demonstration that will be live broadcast. So right now we're streaming live on the internet this opportunity, and if you didn't see the sign down here, we're hoping that if you can go into airplane mode, because the live broadcast is using the 4G service to be able to stream that. And we just don't want to bottleneck the wireless that's going on. So one of the other reasons that we're doing it this week is in collaboration with the support of World Hearing Day and Hearing Awareness Week. And it's a really important thing as an industry and as professionals in hearing to be able to make sure that we continue to promote and support the awareness and the development of technology that you'll see today to improve the ability for people who want to live in the hearing world. That we want to be able to provide people who want to communicate orally the ability to hear and to be able to not just hear speech, but hear music and the environmental sounds that are around you. What I'm going to talk about in the first part is the story and the background of ReSound's technology and that ecosystem that we've built to ensure that people can provide the best opportunities for hearing all of those sounds that they want to hear. As I mentioned, I've been with the company for about 14 years, and my current role is Vice President in Global Audiology, working for the corporate offices. So our main headquarters are in Denmark, but we also have major research and development centers in Chicago, and I work out of the Chicago office. The history of GN is long. It actually was well before I was born. GN was started in 1869, and it was formed as a communication company. And we've always had a commitment to be able to use technology to improve communications. One of the first things that we did as a company before I joined, before I was born, was running cables to communicate between China and Europe, under the ocean waters. So for many years, over 150 years, we've had a commitment for communication. ReSound was first developed to commit on hearing for people with hearing losses. That was in 1898. And in 2003, we expanded our technology to have what we call open fittings, which had provided people the ability to wear hearing aids with the gain they needed to hear better without whistling and without their voice sounding funny or occluded, kind of like it sounds when you put your fingers in your ears. It was a huge change in the way that we provide amplification for individuals because one of the barriers of unnatural listening was overcome. Now, in the last 8 years, we've seen major changes in terms of the technology the industry is providing, and especially what ReSound's providing. We introduced a hearing aid that's using 2.4 gigahertz as its wireless transmission between the hearing aid and the external world, providing assistive devices for improving audibility, providing the ability over time to communicate directly with phones, smartphones, smart tablets, to the point that we can actually stream stereo from a smartphone to the hearing aids with nothing in between. So now all of a sudden hearing aids are kind of like wireless headsets. Now that sounds like a gimmick, but think about the quality of life for individuals that want things like movies and music. People that want to listen to music with hearing aids can't listen under headphones because of the whistling on the hearing aid. They can't turn up the loudspeakers in a room maybe because they might bother the kids that are sleeping in the room next door. So being able to have hearing aids stream wirelessly from the phone now brings music back into the people's lives that want music. And we know how much emotion can become when we listen to the music that means so much to us. That ability to communicate on the 2.4 gigahertz allowed us to provide another option last year when we launched the ReSound Lynx 3D product. And that was the ability to do remote adjustments between the professional in their office and the user, no matter where they were in the world. They can make adjustments and not even to go in for an appointment. Let me talk a little bit about what that means for people with severe to profound hearing losses, which is one of the focuses today, because we're talking about the Smart Hearing Alliance that we have at Cochlear Corporation. Cochlear Corporation is a different way of stimulating the auditory system, and it goes through an electrical stimulation that requires a medical implant. We have superpower and power hearing aids that transmit loud sounds into ear canal for people to hear. And depending on the hearing loss and the person's needs, those are two options to provide the hearing world back. Our philosophy with all of our products is to make sure that we emulate the natural way the auditory system processes sound. People don't want to hear things differently. They want to hear things like they remember. So we continue to ensure that the technology that we build is acoustically the similar way of what the auditory system is processing, and trying to restore that natural high sound quality hearing that people want. That technology package we talk about with ReSound is a surround sound by ReSound. The reasons that we look at surround sound is we want to make sure that natural hearing doesn't just come from the front. We listen off axis all the time. For example, if you're sitting at a dinner party, chances are you're not wanting to listen to the person across the table, but you're also wanting to listen to the person on your right and your left. And we need to make sure that the signal processing technology allows you to hear the right and the left, not just the front. Or maybe consider a parent that's not looking at their children who are playing in the side of the room. That parent needs to know what's going on in that conversation to be able to react as necessary and make those right decisions. We also have noise reduction, feedback cancellation, all sorts of other things that we put in the hearing aid signal processing to give you the best opportunities for hearing in a natural way. Now let me focus back on that 2.4 gigahertz technology, because we actually were not the first hearing aid company to come out with a wireless hearing aid. The wireless hearing aids that were out before ReSound launched theirs required an intermediate device. The technology would not transmit more than 1 meter. So what you had was a device that was picking up the signal that would transmit it to something the person had to wear around their neck, and then translate it to another wireless signal that was sent to the hearing aid. So there were no wires, but there was an accessory that you had to use. And without that accessory, you couldn't use the system. And if you can imagine having to carry around something else to be able to use wireless systems, it's a cumbersome part of the setup. Now, when those products launched, that was the only technology that was available. But ReSound was committed to coming up with something that would provide a better ease of use for that patient. And what we were able to do was integrate a 2.4 gigahertz signal in the hearing aid, an antenna and a transmitter. And that 2.4 gigahertz is the same signal for your wireless router, your wireless systems, your Bluetooth technology. So we're now on the same backbone as all of the other technology industries in wireless communication. And it eliminated the need for that intermediate device, because now we can transmit and receive multiple meters away. The microphone that I'm wearing could be transmitted wirelessly to somebody wearing our hearing aids in the back of the room, and they wouldn't have to wear something around their neck. So the evolution of wireless hearing aids in the hearing aid industry has been great over the last less than a decade. Well, that 2.4 gigahertz signal, when we incorporate it into our accessories, all of a sudden allowed us to incorporate it into connectivity, direct connectivity with smartphones. Because all of a sudden there was a new language in the technology world of wireless that we could put into our hearing aids. Signal processing in the hearing aids to know another language. No hardware needed to be changed. That allowed us to do things like control how the hearing aid worked from your phone, or stream audio directly from your phone to your hearing aids. And then the next one was being able to control the hearing aid remotely for large distances to be able to do adjustments without having to go into the individual patient's office. So, the portfolio that we carry at ReSound has this wireless technology across all of our styles, as long as it's not sitting deep in the ear canal. Because the problem with 2.4 gigahertz is it doesn't go through water, and our body's mostly water. So if the hearing aid's way in the ear canal, we can't broadcast. The other nice thing, though, is it doesn't go through your body, it goes around your body, so you don't have to worry about any radiation of it. But every other model that we have has this wireless technology involved in it, same technology across all of the platforms, and all the way up to individuals that need superpower devices because their hearing loss is so bad they can't hear unless sounds are extremely loud. So from our very smallest all the way to our largest, we connect with our accessories, providing abilities to communicate to television, to lecture people, to people across the dinner table with a direct input, to be able to control the hearing aid with an application on your phone so you don't have to carry another remote control, and also to be able to stream audio from Apple devices in stereo without a delay directly into your hearing aids. And one of the advancements that we have with our app world is the ability to make lots of changes depending on the patient's needs. So maybe they want to adjust the treble or the bass for a situation, or they want to change the directionality or the noise reduction feature, depending on that listening situation. This is our most recent app that came out a year ago. It's the ReSound Smart 3D app. And that app also added the ability that I mentioned to be able to communicate wirelessly with your healthcare professional. How that technology evolved in our mind was looking at how the practice worked for the healthcare professional. And what we found is the number one type of an appointment that a hearing healthcare professional has is a fine-tuning. And that appointment can easily take 30 minutes of the day. But most of the time, the adjustment is really only about 5 minutes. Not only is that appointment 30 minutes out of the day, but the patient now has to call to make an appointment, drive across town to get to the appointment, do the appointment, and then drive back to wherever they want to do their normal routine. So what we did with ReSound Lynx 3D and ReSound Enzo 3D is came up with this ReSound Assist, allowing us to communicate wirelessly between the end user who's wearing the hearing aid into the cloud world that we're used to with like mobile phone technology, and then remote back into the fitting software in the professional's office. And we're the only company that allows you to adjust every single setting in the fitting software remotely. Adding and removing programs that people want, changing the gain settings, changing the advanced features, can all be done for personalizing that fitting for that patient as they figure out what they need without even having to return to the office that did the fitting. We still believe it's important to do face-to-face fitting because you want connection with your healthcare provider. But a lot of things that you need on adjustment don't require to go back to that patient's or to that office of the professional. So that's our whole ecosystem that we look at when we're talking about our hearing aids. That ecosystem is going to provide huge opportunities for many countries, just like Australia. Because if you think about where the population density is in Australia, most of it's on the coast, and very little is in the middle. But there's a commitment from the Australian government for decades that there will be hearing health care provided to every citizen of Australia. How do you go about doing that when you're trying to cover such a large territory? Being able to do remote fine-tunings in this way would allow the patient to be fit with the hearing aid face-to-face with the audiologist, but all adjustments we'd done remotely, and it didn't matter where the people were as long as they can connect to either wireless, internet, or mobile data packages. Cutting down huge expense and huge time to be able to provide high-quality services. So one of the things that we're looking at today is how do we connect and work with Cochlear Corporation. So what I'd like to do now is hand it over to Jan Janssen, who's going to talk a little bit about what we're doing together with the Cochlear Corporation and the ReSound hearing aid technology. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, John. So it gives me great pleasure here to speak to you about the Smart Hearing Alliance, because it's one of the founding fathers of the collaboration with ReSound 7 years ago now. It's fantastic to see that it's coming to fruition and it's getting better and better with every day that passes by. So I'm Jan Janssen, I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Cochlear. I've been with the company 18 years, of which the last 15 in Australia. Still working on my Australian accent. Eventually may get there. And actually enjoy being far away, John. It gives me a lot of time on airplanes to think and to work on slides, and some of them actually are on the pack here today. So there's an upside as well of being located in Australia from that perspective. But we're absolutely very, very happy that over the last few years that we have been able to work together with ReSound on the world's smartest bimodal hearing solutions. GN being a leader in technology in hearing aids, Cochlear being the market leader in cochlear implants, bringing those two companies together to deliver something that provides a lot of value for recipients, for people with severe profound hearing loss, of course, is a fantastic achievement that makes a huge difference in people's lives every day. Now, the journey between Cochlear and GN actually started pretty much exactly 7 years ago. And on John's slide, there was a milestone there in 2010 when ReSound had launched the first Alera hearing aid. And in fact, some of our co-workers went to the UHA conference in Germany, which is an annual hearing aid conference, and learned there that GN had launched this 2.4 gigahertz hearing aid. Now, Cochlear had its own development on 2.4 gigahertz at the time. And through some historic connections that we had, we actually learned that we were working on the same chip platform underneath. So we picked up the phone, spoke with my counterpart at GN at the end of 2010, had our first face-to-face meeting in February 2011, and had a technology license signed later that year. And then, of course, it took a few years before bringing that technology into our products. In 2013, we brought that technology into our Baha technology, and a bit later into our CI product. Then in 2015, we realized that this collaboration could be broader than just about technology. And so we embarked on a journey to establish what's called the Smart Hearing Alliance, which is Cochlear and GN saying, look, we can do more together than just merely making sure that our technology is compatible. Because there's so many people who would benefit from a bimodal hearing solution. So let's also work together in the market to make it easy for people that need a bimodal solution to actually get access to that. Cochlear is also very strongly represented in the medical channel, obviously through our cochlear implants, and also in that way we could actually help GN also establishing a stronger position in that part of the hearing market. And then, of course, now recently with the introduction of Nucleus 7, a bit after the introduction of the ReSound 3D, we have now the world's first bimodal smartphone solution with the made for iPhone connectivity that both connects a hearing aid to GN 3D, the Lynx 3D, and Enzo 3D, as well as a Nucleus 7 sound processor. Now, I think most of you here in the room probably know what bimodal is, but for some of you who don't know what bimodal hearing means, it means that you hear with two ears, and we are designed to hear with two ears. There's a good reason why we have two ears. But if you're hearing impaired, often you may require a cochlear implant if you're severe or profound hearing impaired. But in many parts of the world, a cochlear implant may be only reimbursed for one ear, despite the fact that you need to have severe hearing loss in both ears. So that's one reason why a lot of people will use a cochlear implant in one ear and a hearing aid in the other ear. The other reason is that that type of hearing, where you have electrical stimulation in one ear and acoustic stimulation in the other ear, also has a lot of benefits from a sound quality perspective. Because often the cochlear implants provide the intelligibility that you need, but the hearing aid often provides a sound quality. And also bringing those together, also from that perspective, makes a lot of sense. So that's what we call bimodal hearing, hearing electrically with a cochlear implant in one ear and acoustically with the hearing aid in the other ear. Clearly, two ears are better than one. There's many situations in which it's really difficult to hear with one ear, and sometimes we've actually had a conference a few years ago, and just for fun we handed out earplugs at the beginning of the conference. Asked people, just plug one ear, just for the day. And people start to realize how disabling it is if you really only hear with one ear. And so that's why it's so important and so beneficial to have bimodal hearing. Because you'll hear better in quiet and in noise. It also helps slow down the auditory deprivation in the ear that otherwise would not be stimulated. The sound quality I mentioned already. Ease of listening. We often underestimate how difficult it is for people that have severe profound hearing loss just to get through a working day. They may be able to hear everything, but they're exhausted at the end of the day. And again, if we can provide the input in both ears, that will actually absolutely help with that. And then also superior sound localization, which is important from a safety perspective, but also to be able to function in difficult listening situations with multiple speakers, obviously. So we're bringing together really the best of both worlds. So we have the Cochlear technology combined with the GN technology that can both connect to a smartphone, to pretty much any iOS device, an iPod, an iPad, an iPhone obviously. We have the conventional 2.4 wireless accessories that John spoke about. And also important to mention is that this technology is available not only with our cochlear implants, but also with our bone conduction device, with our Baha product range. So the way it works with the iOS devices is that the smartphone will communicate any information that comes in both to a Nucleus 7 sound processor as well to a Enzo 3D or a Lynx 3D hearing aid. Yeah. And of course also both devices, both Nucleus 7 as well as the ReSound Lynx and Enzo 3D still have the ability to communicate or to use the traditional wireless accessories, the TV streamer, the mini mic, and the phone clip. And so pretty much anything that you want to do on your smartphone, whether it's taking a phone call, whether it's listening to music, whether it's watching a video, or even getting navigation instructions from your navigation app, both will go to both ears. And again, I think we often underestimate how important that is. We have one of our co-workers, he's actually a bimodal user, he's one of our product managers, and he said before having the sound coming into both ears, when he was on a teleconference, being based in Australia, having a lot of teleconferences with one of our colleagues in Europe, he said, I really had to use chat alongside being on a phone call because I just was not able to communicate without that. Since I get the sound both in my cochlear implant as well as in my ReSound hearing aid, I can actually have a teleconference without using chat because now I have the sound quality and the intelligibility that allows me to operate pretty much like a normal hearing person. As John pointed out, it's high quality digital stereo sound. You get a true stereo image from left going to left, right going to right. It's very convenient and easy to use, and that's, I think, very important to underline. In the past, already with Nucleus 6, people could use the phone clip, which also was great from a connectivity perspective, but it required you to one more thing to carry around during the day. Where now with Nucleus 7 and Enzo and Lynx 3D, we have the direct connectivity. And as we mentioned, particularly helpful in these challenging listening situations. Yeah. In terms of bimodal compatibility, so for Cochlear, it really started with Nucleus 6. That has the wireless accessories, not yet the smartphone connectivity. That's what came with Nucleus 7. And we have then also full compatibility both with the conventional accessories as well as with the smartphone connectivity with our Baha product line. You see the ReSound family members that are compatible bimodally, and then the wireless accessories that can work with these devices. Also, our philosophy is that we want to make full use of wireless technology. And today we talk about bimodal capability, which is great for the user. We also have we brought wireless technology into the operating room, and not something we're going to talk about today, but we also there want to get rid of all wires and cables, and also in the programming room. So in the programming environment there, ReSound has the NoaLink Wireless, which allows you to program the hearing aid wireless, and we have a similar technology that also allows to do the cochlear implant programming wireless, and in the future also we'll merge those two together. But again, it's our philosophy to take full benefit of wireless technology around that. So with that, I've been able to provide you with a bit of historic perspective, as well as talk some of the benefits that people will receive with bimodal solutions. We'll start a short video, and then I'll hand back to John to talk who will share with you some of the study findings of the tangible clinical benefits. Thank you.
I grew up in Dubbo in a loving family of 6, and when I was 11, it was discovered through a routine primary school hearing test that I actually had quite a significant hearing loss. I often just felt so isolated. I'd be sitting there on the fringe thinking, what are they talking about? I've got no idea. It came to a head when I was 21, and I just realised that it probably wasn't going to get any better. It was just going to get worse. I couldn't see any way out, and so I actually considered suicide. I wrote my mum a letter. She read that letter and then came to me and said, we'll work through this together. You don't have to be alone. It changed my life, that decision to accept and be open about it. So I started to go to lip reading classes. Then I went to some sign language classes and learnt to sign, but it still wasn't quite enough. I was feeling like I'd made some steps towards hearing better. I had hearing aids, and but I was worried that if I decided to have children, children are very hard to hear and they don't face you when they speak. So I decided to go ahead with surgery when I was 29, and it was life-changing as well. At first, it sounded like an alien language, and I would just listen and hear nothing but jumble, and then suddenly I would hear one word out of that. So with my husband, he would read to me, and I would just listen and hear nothing but jumble. We were sitting together, we were chopping vegetables in the kitchen, and he said something facing down, and I answered. And we both stopped what we were doing and just looked at each other, and I said, I heard you. And he was like, wow. I didn't think it could get much better after that, but I was wrong again. I decided to get a new hearing aid, and I realised that ReSound hearing aid would connect up with my cochlear implant through the wireless accessories. So I decided to get one. I'd heard that it was good, and I thought, well, I'll just give it a go. But nothing quite prepared me for how good it was. So a work colleague had said to me, you should try this wireless accessory. He gave me the multi-mic, and I plugged it into my laptop, paired it all up, and I was at work. I pressed play, an old song that I used to like, which was Coldplay, Yellow. Sat back, and then all of a sudden, this sound, this music just filled my whole head, 2 ears at once, so clear, I actually broke down in tears. It's really easy to pair my cochlear implant with the ReSound hearing aid with the multi-mic. So you just press a button when it's on, turn on your ReSound hearing aid, turn on the cochlear implant, and then it connects. It's that simple. One really cool thing about the ReSound hearing aid is that you can control it through your iPhone. And that was a big thing for me because I really hate carrying around remote controls. With the phone clip, I connected to my landline at work. So it's connected by Bluetooth, and when the phone rings, or if I need to make a call, it goes directly into 2 ears, shuts out all the background noise, and I can hear almost perfectly. One of the big changes has been being able to localise where sound is coming from. Often I would be saying to my son, where's that noise coming from? And he'd say, it's over there, mummy. But now, because I've got the 2 ears, I can work it out, and I feel a lot safer when I'm walking around. One other thing that I find really useful that I discovered, I sometimes still have trouble hearing my kids in the back of the car. But one day I gave my son Arlen, who's 5, the multi-mic, and just attached it to his lapel, and he was chatting away to me in the back of the car, and it's really sweet. Sometimes I'll hear him whispering into it, I love you, mummy. So it's great.
You know, all the long flights and travel I do, it's things like that that motivates me to continue to do that. It's not easy to be 17 hours upside down as of last Saturday, and I'll do it again on Friday. But it's to make a difference in people's lives. It really is. I remembered another woman in Canada that is using our technology, also has a visual impairment. And we're able to open up technology that's out there for her because there's an app that she has or on their phone or something that reads her texts and her emails out loud for her. And with this technology, actually can stream that directly to her ears, and now she has confidentiality and secrecy, however you want to do it, when she's getting texts and emails when she's in public. Not to mention the fact that there's no background noise anymore because it turns off the hearing aid microphones when it streams it. So being able to open up what we consider in a hearing world to be normal communication modes on technology of smartphones and things, to link that directly into the technology that's opening the lives for their hearing. One of the other things I want to mention in terms of this Smart Hearing Alliance is that Cochlear does not own GN and GN does not own Cochlear. We're two independent companies that are coming together to provide the technology that's needed for people to have the best hearing experience. My mother used to say, you choose your friends, you're stuck with your family. And that's one of the things I think about with the Smart Hearing Alliance is we've chosen to work with the global leader in cochlear implants, and they've chosen to work with the global leader on hearing aids with wireless technology. So let's step back again in terms of some of those benefits that we talk about with bimodal. There's a lot of research that shows that you can improve the ability to hear where sounds are coming from, that you can understand the process of speech, meaning that how does the pitch change better when you're listening to two ears. You don't have potential problems with auditory deprivation because you're stimulating both sides of the head. There's an improved sound quality with bimodal. And remember at the beginning I said that ReSound is committed to the highest sound quality possible. We don't want it to sound funny, we want it to sound natural. And there's also enhanced music perception. I remember when I was studying at the University of Iowa and they were looking at that point, oh my gosh, now that's 20 plus years ago, about how do you make a cochlear implant's music input sound more natural. And now we're finding if you have bimodal, it takes it to another level of making it even more natural. Let's look at a little bit of the research data that's out there in terms of using hearing aids alone, implants alone, and bimodal. Now I'm a little bit nervous that you might look at this graph and say that with the ReSound Lynx hearing aid, we're only providing about 11% benefit. But this is for somebody that can't hear anything unless it's an extremely loud sound. They need amplification to hear even moderate speech levels. So we're getting to the pushing the limit with the hearing aid on this to be able to provide benefits. But if you now add a cochlear implant and look at the input from the nucleus side, now they're jumping up to 75% correct. But when we combine both an acoustic ReSound device and electrical stimulation nucleus device to bimodal, we can start getting up over 80% correct without visual cues. Another thing that we can provide with the bimodal is the ability to use an accessory that would be an input microphone the person that you want to hear is wearing that could be easily 3 meters away from you. And it could be an extremely difficult, loud, noisy listening situation. And we start to look at the data there that if you're listening in quiet with a hearing aid, you might only with these subjects get 35+% correct. With just the nucleus, you get about 85, and you get with bimodal 92 when you're using an external input in quiet. But now you start increasing the level of the background noise. Maybe you're at a dinner party situation. Maybe you're at a restaurant. Maybe you're at a train station, and the noise levels are very high, and even with normal hearing, it can be difficult to understand. And if we increase the noise levels up to 75 dB, they're still getting information, but if even up to 65, meaning that there's lots of people talking at the same time, they have the performance that they would have in quiet. Giving people with severe to profound hearing losses the ability to hear in even more listening situations, without having to wear wires between the microphones and their devices, without having to wear intermediate devices, freeing them up to live a more comfortable, natural, meaningful life. So, we've probably brought you here on a little bit of an idea of what's going to be this new world's first. And we've done remote fine-tuning with ReSound products between Denmark and our AAA national conference in the US live. So we had the patient sitting in Denmark and we had the audiologist sitting in the US. What we're going to do today is we're going to bring in somebody that wears a bimodal hearing aid and is having a conversation. His name's Peter, and he's having a conversation with my colleague Libby, who works at ReSound. And we should be seeing that up here in a moment. And you're going to hear them talking outside, and he's going to say a little bit about what he's experiencing. And there's going to be a twist to this now. So, Libby and Peter.
So, Peter, tell me, how was your day today?
Oh, Libby, it was a terrific day. How was yours?
Really good. So glad the sun's back out.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's beautiful being outdoors.
I've got to say, it's very windy in downtown Chicago today. The wind's really whipping even off Lake Michigan, don't you think?
I wish we were in Chicago, but I'm getting a free blow wave, so this isn't too bad.
Yes. Well, there's some wonderful technology now that I think that I can get that I get my hearing aid a little adjustment to mitigate against this very windy noise that I've got in my hearing aid.
What do you mean? What are you going to do?
Well, it's the hearing aid company is called ReSound GN, and they've developed this iPhone app called Smart 3D. It's very intuitive, it works really well, and the amazing thing about this technology is it enables remote connection wherever I am in the world, and indeed wherever my audiologist is in the world. So whoever that is doesn't have to be in their office. They can be downtown, they can be at home, they can be in their office, they can be at the beach, as long as they got their computer and a got wireless connection, then we can connect. Let me show you how this works.
Sounds good. Show me.
So here is the Smart 3D app. It comes on. It's a very intuitive app, and I just go to My ReSound, and there is a short menu here, and it's called ReSound Assist, and I can request assistance. This indicates that this is going to set me up with for a communication between me and my audiologist, irrespective of where both of us are.
Sounds pretty cool.
So before we begin, it asks me a series of questions. Has your hearing changed? No. Is your hearing aid broken or clogged with wax debris? No. Is there a problem with the fit of the hearing aids in your ears? No. I don't have any of those problems, fortunately, today.
So if you did, you'd probably have to go in and see your audiologist, right?
Oh yes, for any adjustment, I've got to make an appointment and go and see her, in my case, and she's got to find time in her busy schedule to see me. And so any adjustments under the present arrangements are specific to time and place for both my audiologist and for me. So now this app asks me to define my problem. My problem is that we have extra noise, whistling static due to the wind. And then it asks me, when is this occurring? And it's in this very windy environment, so the menu says in certain environments or with specific sounds or all of the time. In our case, it's in certain environments. And then it gives me another very intuitive set of options. And in this case, we're outdoors, so I just select that.
Seems pretty simple.
And then it says, how severe is the problem? I think it's very annoying. And it says, which side is the problem on? Well, I have a cochlear implant on the right side, and I have a ReSound hearing aid on the left, so I just select left. And then it allows me to select which programs I would like to have adjusted to minimize the sound of the wind.
Yep.
Well, in my case, all around. So the summary is that's going to be in the communication is that there's extra noise due to whistling, static, and wind in this case. In certain environments outside, it's annoying. It's on my left side, and I want all programs in my aid to be adjusted. So all I have to do now is to send my audiologist a little note, like a text.
Yep.
Today it's John. So I say, hi, John. Oh.
Looks like you've pressed send request, so it looks like he's just going to get the hi John.
I did.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm hoping that John will see on this app without my message specifically what the problem is. He will see that, but I was going to be polite and I was going to say, hi, John, sorry for being a bother, but I'm in a very windy environment. Would you Would it be convenient for you to do a minor adjustment on my aid? That's the message that I was going to send to him, but he'll have all of that without the polite talk.
You showed me the summary before, so I'm pretty sure John, the fabulous audiologist
I'm sure,
that he is, will work it out.
did.
All right,
So
let's wait to see
I
what
just
happens.
close that now, and I wait for John to get back to me. Now, I'm hoping that he's close to his computer and that he can respond reasonably spontaneously, but he might be with other people, he might be traveling, might be convenient, but we'll wait and see.
Why not? Let's have a drink while we wait, shall
Indeed, that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
So unfortunately, Peter's audiologist wasn't available today, so we actually are having me stand in for that. So he sent this request out. He's not connected with programming to my computer. He's connected to his phone right now. And you can't be connected for a programming interface and the phone at the same time. I'm kind of staging that. He's not actually in the room. He's outside somewhere, all right? So this live broadcast of this makes it a little bit nervous because I'm actually having to make it work right the first time, but it's a pretty good technology in the fact that, did you notice that we got a little black bar that popped up there? So the message that he sent went from the phone up into the cloud, down from the cloud through the wireless internet onto my computer. I'm connected wireless to the internet, to the wireless card to the internet. He's connected by data to the internet. So if I see that new request up there, all I have to do is click that new request, and I can say, Open SmartFit. Now this is a secured connection. He has to have agreed to a consent. I have to agree to a consent to be able to work in the system. Everything that's sent across the cloud and the communications is all encrypted to ensure there's no way for people to hack into that information. This is medical information we're sending, and we've got a very tight controlled system that follows all of the rules no matter where you are in the world. Now, it doesn't even matter where I didn't have to be here. I could be in Chicago because I have wireless internet in Chicago. But it's nice to be here in front of you guys. So when I said open up a assistance request, it opens up our SmartFit fitting software, which is how we program hearing aids. But notice over here on the left-hand side where I get my connection information, I'm not connected to any hearing aids. If I was connected, it would be green and it says connected. I like to reinforce those things because you don't want to think that I'm doing any smoke and mirrors up here, right? All right, so I see that assistance request there, and I can pull down the actions. And I can, actually I want to click here first to read it, because normally I wouldn't have heard what he was saying and what he was doing. Open up the message of the patient. Hi, John. Yeah. But all of those questions that he answered on the way through actually come into my request. Because it's important to actually have some objective information when you get a request, not just the text. Because if he would have written, I'm having problems, what would I do? Well, I can go in and look at the things that he tick boxed, and I see extra noise, whistling, static, outdoors, annoying, left ear, all around program. Well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start an assist fitting session. And that's going to go into the adjustment screens in our fitting software. These are the adjustment screens in the fitting software. Like I told you before, the hearing aid must be fit, connected to the programming interface face-to-face. But now I can go in and make adjustments. And if I go into my adjustments and click on Advanced Features, here are my advanced signal processing features, and I scroll down and notice that Wind Guard, which is a way to decrease the annoyance of wind across the turbulence, across the microphones, is turned off. Now let me reinforce what that means to you. That's what he's having a problem with. That can be very annoying and loud, disruptive when you're trying to sit in quiet, let alone trying to listen to somebody else. So I'm going to turn that feature on. I didn't think about turning it on before, but now he actually is finding that it might be helpful. If I go down here, I'm going to click Save. And it's going to start saving that information, ready to package it up to the cloud. The cloud's that communication between me wirelessly and him. It's packaging that, getting it ready to go, putting it into an encrypted mode so that it can't be hacked, putting it into a mode that the hearing aid on the other side can actually extract and understand how to reprogram that hearing aid. Current fitting session has been saved, and I'm going to click Send Settings. Now, it's really also important to make sure that you have effective, regular communication with your patients. So I have now the opportunity to send him a message back. So I can say, "Hi, Peter," and I should just hit send. But no. I'll say, "I added a wind reduction feature to your program. You can also adjust the strength in the app." Because in the app, you can adjust if it's mild, moderate, or strong. I just had to activate it first, so we had the ability to adjust it. Let me know how it works. Best regards, John. That exact message is actually going to be sent, so I need to be careful what I write. And I'm setting the settings. Now it's packaging that communication that I put in there into the package, and it's going to be sent over the cloud. Successfully sent. Let's turn the audio back on the other side.
That was quick.
Fantastic. It's just downloading the details.
I can't believe how quick that was.
Extraordinary. So it's now asking me the changes are available for download. So I just hit install.
Yeah.
I need to put my hearing aid in. No?
So pretty much looks to me, from a non-audiologist perspective, that this is just like a standard phone update.
Yeah. It's a terrific app. Now I've got a very polite note back from John. It says, "Hi Peter, I added a wind reduction feature to your program. You can also adjust the strength in the app. Let me know how it works. Best regards, John." There's the summary, which he had.
Yep.
Right, so I shall continue. Take my hearing aid off.
Do you want me to hold that for you? Continue. So it looks like you've got to press continue there to keep going. Accept and install.
Okay,
Accept and install.
here we are.
Just pop that back on.
It's downloading, look. Wirelessly, seamlessly, and quickly.
So again, pretty fast, right? Considering we don't have
It's
really good
amazing.
internet here in Australia, it's going pretty well.
It's amazing. It's almost completely downloaded and installed.
Very good. Now what?
Installation is successful. You can now continue to use your hearing aid with the new settings. Isn't that fantastic?
That's really good, but can you show me where in the app it does that? Where have you got your new settings now? So go to sound enhancer.
If I go to the sound enhancer, there you can see. See that, Libby? There's a new addition there, wind noise reduction. And I can just move this for how much reduction I wish, from low, medium, strong. Absolutely amazing.
Very good. I'm
How
very
cool,
impressed.
How cool's that?
I'm very happy that it's working well for you.
It's fantastic. Brilliant.
Thanks for that little
What
demonstration, Peter.
sensational and transformational technology this is.
Really good.
Wonderful.
And you didn't have to go into the office.
Don't even have to go to the office.
I think we should go get another drink.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Let's go.
Good on you, Libby.
So should we literally go get another drink?
I was going to say, he didn't have to see me. You know, it did take a little bit of time, but considering the time that it would have made to make the phone call to make an appointment, That would have been a lot longer, I think, in the long run. And I don't know how many people you run across when you're trying to make appointments with people. In my busy day, I make a reminder on my calendar to call to make an appointment, and then I'm busy and I forget, and then when I go to make the appointment, the office is closed. And then you're another day before you can make an appointment. So it's not easy these days to get all of this healthcare that we want to have at our fingertips. Now, one of the things about this technology is that it is asynchronous, meaning it's not real time. But we developed it on purpose that way, because if you want to have a synchronous connection for an adjustment, you have to make an appointment. A synchronous adjustment requires the end user and the healthcare provider to be online at the same time to be able to make the adjustments. With asynchronous, you don't have to have your healthcare provider. You can send a request at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're at the pub, and the healthcare provider will pick it up when they're ready to work in the office. Now, if you want to have synchronous, just like we did here, it's pretty darn fast. So if you want to have a synchronous session, you can schedule your synchronous session maybe with Skype or a phone call or something, and you can send those settings to the individual and have them updated within the time period that you'd have for that synchronous appointment. So we get the best of both worlds with that type of opportunity. We've really found that it provides huge benefits for people to be able to get things that they need changed more quickly. It doesn't mean that everybody wants to use this kind of feature. Some people still want to come in for an appointment. Some people still might need to be explained how to use the app when they adjust, the option to adjust it is there. But for an early adapter to new technology, for somebody that really understands how their smartphone works, it can provide huge opportunities. For example, maybe that business executive that's running off to a meeting and wants to have an adjustment made, but's not going to be able to make an appointment because they're not in their hometown for another 2 weeks. Or maybe somebody that's sailing can have a wind adjustment program out when they're out sailing. Oh, hey, Peter. Let's get you a handheld microphone. Make sure it's turned on.
Well, you did a great job from here to Chicago, John.
Thank you. So just so you know, where we're going to have a reception afterwards is upstairs in an outside seating area, and that's where they were. Too far away to have direct connection, but close enough so that you could actually meet Peter and we could talk about what's going on. So Peter, tell us a little bit about the experience.
Well, I will. But first of all, can I say that everything that John and Jan talked about as being a tremendously grateful recipient of this fabulous technology is absolutely true. And wasn't Kate's story fantastic? I mean, it's just amazing. I identified with that. All of those scenarios that young lady on that show, it's exactly what it was like. And I've been wearing these things long enough to remember what it was like long before there was any wireless technology and connectivity. So I remember all those multiple devices when they first came in and how complex and cumbersome it all was. But John, can I just say what a great pleasure it is for me to participate in this world first in hearing connectivity launch of ReSound's transformational technology, very kindly hosted by the two companies, the Smart Hearing Alliance, Cochlear and GN ReSound. Thank you. But John's very kindly given me the opportunity just to say a few words before we begin our conversation. But out of courtesy to the audiologists and the clinicians here this afternoon, I thought that a little clinical background might be of interest to you. I don't know, but perhaps it might be. But in late August last year, I suffered moderate to profound sensorineural hearing loss bilaterally, with poor speech discrimination in the right ear and fair to good speech discrimination in the left. I had cochlear implant surgery in mid-December and was switched on 1 week later, just a few days before Christmas. And I've got the recently released Cochlear Nucleus 7 implant on the right side, and the latest, even more current, I believe, ReSound Enzo hearing aid on the left. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how profoundly grateful I am to these two companies for these amazingly sophisticated hearing devices. In my world, without them, I would live in silence. And for me, that would mean that I'd be unable to work and engage professionally. I couldn't travel independently. And even though I'm essentially semi-retired, I still travel internationally 5 or 6 times a year. That wouldn't be possible. And of course, my enjoyable social and wonderful family lives would be enormously diminished. I have 2 gorgeous little grandsons. One just turned 4 and the other's about to turn 2. And of course, you can imagine how fascinated they are by this weird gear on my ears and on the side of my head. I think it's pretty weird too, I have to say. But little 4-year-old, I was playing with him the other day, and a little guy said, "Grandpa, why do you wear hearing aids?" So I replied, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, "Micah, just so I can hear your voice and talk with you." And folks, that pretty much says it all. So I'd like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to my brilliant implant surgeon, Professor Dr. Nirmal Patel, and my superb clinical audiologists, Maxine Myers and Monique Carson. Dr. Patel is not only a brilliant surgeon whose fine motor skills defy my imagination, I have to tell you, but he's a delightfully engaging man. Maxine has looked after my hearing magnificently since fitting me with my first pair of hearing aids almost 20 years ago. And she fitted me with my new ReSound hearing aid just 2 weeks ago. This is my first ReSound aid. I bought it so I can enjoy the incredible bimodal technology that have been developed in collaboration between ReSound and Cochlear. The direct synchronous streaming from my iPhone and TV to my implant and aid is just absolutely fantastic. It is everything that John described to you. Now enhanced even further by ReSound's highly innovative app-based remote connectivity software that you just saw demonstrated, that we are celebrating the launch this afternoon. This is amazing stuff, actually. And it's all been developed in a very short period of time. So, you know, if you've got to have this gear, today is the time to have it. Almost, with one little improvement yet to come, gentlemen, and that is a single app for Cochlear and hearing aids. So it is entirely seamless. I am sure this is but a minor software development challenge, but seeing your innovative intuition and brilliance and prowess, I'll expect it within 6 months. Stick at it, folks. That's the next big development, I think. Now, my other audiologist is here this afternoon, and her name is Monique. She's a wonderful audiologist, and she's my implant audiologist who is leading me along the fascinating and disciplined journey of hearing rehabilitation. And yes, I have to tell you, it is every bit as bizarre to start with as you heard described on that video clip. But thanks to Monique's wonderful, skillful expertise, I think I'm making fabulous progress. Monique, can I embarrass you and ask you to stand?
So, what do you think? Do you like the wind noise program? Make a difference upstairs?
Oh, it's fantastic. The app. I'm not a techie sort of a guy, so things have to be pretty intuitive for me to get it in the technological world. But the app is intuitive and it works really well. And this new innovation is profound. I can imagine the technological sophistication behind it. But I work in the area of, I've been a business school dean for over 20 years, and I've enjoyed an international career for 30 years. And John, I can tell you, I've been travelling to and from the United States and Australia for 30 years. It gets easier the more you do it. Until you reach a certain age, then the curve starts going down the other way. But never mind. This connectivity, accessibility, the delivery of service that transcends the restrictions of time and place has transformed higher education, especially in the business school domain, where typically people who do graduate management education are busy professionals, they're mobile, and therefore to come to classes, only come to classes at a specific day, at a specific place, at a specific time, just simply doesn't fit with their lifestyle choices and their work and travel commitments. Now, I don't think that remote technologies will ever supplant a quality service provision. It enhances the one-on-one interaction. It's not a substitute for it. So high quality management education is never all online. And I would argue that it's not all face-to-face anymore either, because the market simply isn't like that anymore. And graduate management education has truly become a globalised affair. Educational providers think globally, they engage globally, their students and participants can be anywhere in the world, and this accessible technology works to the massive benefit of not just the consumer, the customer, the patient, the student, but also to the professor and the clinician, because it releases them from having to be at a specific place at a specific time on a specific day in order to deliver the service. So this is a massively enhancing technology rather than a replacement technology, and I think that it, as being a professor that is, has engaged in this sort of education for a long time, it really elevates the professionalism of the job in lots of ways. So, you know, congratulations. I can only imagine how tricky this was to all design and program, but it is an astonishingly wonderful innovation. So
Thank
well done
you.
to the two companies.
I still remember doing my accounting work 30 years ago, and it was really exciting to have a mechanical pencil. Things have changed. Do we have any quick questions from the audience? There we go. Thank you. I'm going to repeat the question for you so you don't have to have a microphone.
Great. If you want to take this over cocktails, that'd be okay. I'm curious about your rehab that you're going through to learn a new type of
Thank you
So
for the
we're
question. I'll
concerned about
try
the
and answer
rehab.
it briefly. I'm obviously only 2 months into this, but the fact that I could hear and understand your question is no trivial achievement for me, if I can say that. Monique had me well and truly programmed for the switch on. She said, "Peter, don't expect anything." Well, if you can, that's a pretty hard thing to grab when you're nothing but heard, "Hello, 1, 2, 3," and then it was an extraordinary experience, because even though I'm profoundly deaf, I don't think until that point that I really accepted it. At that point I realised truly how deaf I was and how deafening any sound was. The sound was just extraordinary. Monique said to me, "Peter, this, in a few days you'll be asking me to turn this up." I couldn't think of anything less likely. But sure enough, within a week or a bit, I had gone from the base setting to the higher setting that the app would allow me to do, and I've had several settings since. Monique asked me in the rehabilitation to try and be, I think the lingo is in speech, for 1 or 2 hours a day. Well, this was over Christmas, so I spent 7 or 8 hours a day trying to understand speech. So I listened to podcasts and audio books and got people to talk to me and to use Cochlear's very helpful assistance manual with tests and all that sort of thing. So I guess I did it pretty diligently, and apparently I've made pretty respectable progress. But it does require, I think, a very positive attitude. You do have to be motivated. It is not easy. You've got to be highly motivated, and you've got to practice hard. And the more you put into anything, as you know, the more you get out of it. And in this case, I think the quicker you get the benefit. So Monique said to me once when she was, I didn't know that she could do this, but apparently on the Cochlear software, and I now seen it on my app, but when I got connected to her computer, she could tell exactly how many times I took this thing off a day, how long I spent in speech every day, and so I thought, good Lord, you know, she's really monitoring me from a distance. And then she said to me, Peter, you're not impatient, are you? I said, no, just desperate. So there we go. The journey continues. I was sufficiently adventurous to go to Munich for a conference 6 weeks after the surgery. Dr. Patel said, medically, Peter, you're fine to go, but my wife who's here said, well, I'm not so sure about this. But the good news is I did manage to get on the right plane at the right time in the right city. So you just got to work at it. I'm looking forward to the time when I will be able to hear music clearly. I certainly can't anything like it at the moment. But the bimodal technology is beyond wonderful. I mean, beyond wonderful. To be able to hear synchronously and directly from a phone and all the apps that you might have it, or from a computer via a connector, or from the television is just, it's life-changing. And I just say again, without this wonderful technology, I couldn't enjoy anything like the life that I enjoy professionally and all that goes with it. So it's fantastic stuff.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you again for coming to the event today to see the first live broadcasted bimodal remote fine-tuning using ReSound Assist and ReSound hearing aids, cochlear implants, and the Smart Alliance that we have with that partnership that we have. That wraps up the event today, although we will be having refreshments upstairs on the area where the remote fine-tuning was held from. It's a little bit warmer here than it is in Chicago, so I think you could also stand inside if you want to. But we'll be up there taking questions and talking as well. Thank you again, and have a great day.